Why not consider becoming a supporter of Film Network Ireland on buymeacoffee.com/FNI and sign up to become a member so you can benefit from all sorts of little extra perks. Tickets for screenings, tickets to our meetups, discounts, and so much more. You'll find more about us on social media, on Facebook and Insta on @Film Network Ireland. As always, we are excited to bring you exclusive interviews with some of Ireland's top filmmakers, actors, and industry insiders. If you enjoy our show, why not deep dive into our back catalogue for a varied and exciting look behind the scenes of what it's actually like to work in the film and TV industry across all departments on the island of Ireland. Wrapchat is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you find your audio content relating to film and TV.
Hello everybody and welcome back to FNI Wrapchat here in the podcast studios. We're really grateful for the guys looking after us today off Lombard Street there in Dublin 2. Thank you so much for supporting the show and watching previous episodes. We really appreciate it. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. And if you really like the show, please go to buymeacoffee.com/FNI and help us keep the lights on and keep the cameras rolling and to create our ongoing library of experience in the film and TV independent industry here in Ireland. I'm really excited today to chat to two directors who I very much admire. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jim Sheridan. How are you doing?
Good, very good.
Welcome. Thanks for coming along, particularly today. Dave, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you very much.
So, you know, I suppose the reason we're here today, number one, obviously, is to chat to you about your work and your endeavours and your process and, you know, your experiences in the industry so far. But more importantly, to talk about Recreation, which is hitting the cinemas, I believe, next month, towards the end of next month. Do we have a date?
October 3rd, yeah. It's an Omniplex cinemas all over the country.
Yeah,
Beginning of October, is it?
October 3rd, yeah.
So
Sure.
I think it's fair to say that it's a hot potato subject that's been, you know, around in the ether in the Irish media for quite a long time now. I'm aware of it for a long time, watched, you know, both documentaries, both yours and the other one. First of all, I'll ask, you know, what drew both of you to the story in general and, you know, inclusive of your own. What brought you to it again? Why did you feel you needed to revisit this? And, you know, how important is this story to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't think the other documentary was a documentary. I think it was a hatchet job, okay?
Okay.
And I think it was crap. Okay, now that's just me being straight, so I want to get that out of the way.
That's the Netflix doc we're talking about.
Yeah.
Not Murder at the Cottage.
No, absolutely not. No.
Like, I just think there's a responsibility on people to check facts when they're talking about murder. Like, you know, especially if you're saying somebody committed the murder, you want to go and check that what you're saying is real, you know. And the big trouble now is that when there's a catastrophe like, say, Lockerbie or poor Sophie, the family, you know, are quite rightly the ones everybody concentrates on. But after a certain point, like, there's also a responsibility on the living rather than the dead. And the hurting living are the family, without a doubt. They're the primary people that you have to pay respect to and be kind to. Yeah. But when it passes into an area that, like, without evidence, you're kind of saying this one person is the only suspect. Like, I talked to a chap who was big in the investigation in the early days, who wrote a book on it, and I said, well, why are the police jubilant? Why are you so happy? And he said, well, you know, they took Bailey's blood, and he's the only blood they took, and now they have blood, and it must match. I'm like, oh, so like 30 years ago, they got one suspect, didn't bother with anybody else, took one set of blood, and now that blood happens to be on the rock. Now, who knows? You know, I don't know what's gonna come out. I doubt if they're timing the release of the information on the DNA to tie in with a stupid movie, but it just happens to be that they keep saying, oh, we're coming out in June, and now they're saying we're coming out in 30 days, which is about a week before, I suppose, we go on.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I suspect it won't be Bailey, but you never know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And actually, I don't know who that policeman is, Jim, but they definitely took DNA from 10 people back in the day that we know about, you know, who were suspects.
But they only took hair.
Didn't take blood?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, they are, the articles that have been written, one by Roach and Mick Sheridan, did say that they were testing the guards as well. And, you know, there was a stain on
they were testing the guards on the stain on the boot.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but why would they be doing that? Why didn't they do that for the last 15
well,
years?
This is the point I was going to make. We've
Thank
you know,
it
happened
Just one more thing, man.
So will they, you know, in 2012 that DNA was found by the French.
Yeah.
So why is it 15 years later that DNA is only being tested now? You know, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, why is that?
It's a mystery.
It is.
Hence, you know, the continuing interest in this story and revisiting this. I'll just get on to the film very quickly. Obviously, I've seen it, and I find very positive comparisons to the likes of 12 Angry Men in a lovely way. Great cast, obviously. How did you go about casting this?
Well, it's funny. We initially had just Vicky, Krieps and me and Dave making a kind of art house type documentary in various sets, Marie Farrell's shop and the butchers and the house, and it went way over budget, and I just had to stop all the building and decide, wow, what are we going to do here? And I just said, look, just make one room, jury room. We're going to make a jury room. That's it. And we changed totally with about 2 weeks ago. I'd always loved 12 Angry Men. I knew Sidney Lumet. And I think it's probably the best filmed play of all time. Like, people forget it was originally a play, Reginald Rose. But everything in it is worked out to a T. Every camera move, every beat. And we couldn't do that. We had to rely on something else, which was kind of more...
God forbid you'd have to rely on your actors.
Yeah,
carry it through.
Exactly. But in 12 Angry Men, you know, they've got number 8 is amazing. Henry Fonda. It's probably his best performance. Vicky Krieps took an opposite of, you know, Henry Fonda kind of knows everything. She knows nothing. But John Connor's kind of was Lee J. Cobb character, and he was very like him, yeah.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, kind of explosive and reactive.
Well, there was one review from a girl in Oman, in Africa.
Yes.
And she pointed out something that nobody else pointed out, which was we were lucky to have an advantage over 12 Angry Men. And I was like, well, what's that? And she said, well, we know the defendant. Whereas in 12 Angry Men, you really don't know the kid who's on trial. There's one shot of him, but you have no real background. So we were lucky in that because it's a real trial as opposed to like a made-up fiction, you know, you kind of get the benefit of people all knowing who we're talking about. In Ireland and England and France anyway.
Certainly, yeah.
But that's just a lucky... and we weren't really trying to copy. We were ad-libbing and throwing stuff in and going outside the court and doing what we could to patch a movie together in difficult circumstances.
Yeah. Sometimes, I suppose, paring it back, it's a chamber play, ostensibly, right?
Yeah.
What was it like co-directing?
Oh, he's a nightmare.
Well, I'd say he's a devil to deal with, is he?
No, he's not. Well, sure, great.
Yeah, it was very easy. I mean, we didn't argue, you know. It was just like I was on the set as the jury performing. And that probably helped because it kind of took me out of having to be watching and
We're
worrying
kind of
about
the
it.
Con Carla of the
The
film.
Cian Carla,
Cian
yes.
Carla.
Yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
I mean, Jim is obviously a genius with actors. I mean, you have to look at the actors in Jim's films over the year, and when you see Tobey Maguire, it's the best performance, in my opinion, he's ever given. Obviously, Daniel, Brenda, lots of people you could point to. And so, on that front, there's nobody else who's going to be better at handling that. And obviously, we talk about things, or Jim would say, what do you think? But when it comes to something like that, Jim was on the floor and was there and able to make it happen in a way, because there was a lot of improvising. And then I dealt with the crew a lot, particularly in Luxembourg, which was a tough shoot for us because it just was for loads of different reasons.
It was a co-production with Luxembourg.
Very little preparation.
Little preparation.
And we had a backdrop that was a problem.
Yeah.
Bloody backdrop, because when you build a set, you're then limited to where your backdrop can go. So if we moved it too far, you saw the top. And
and so they'd built the set too close to the studio.
I see.
So we could only move it back so far, so it would look. So it was one of those things where you arrive, it's there. We'll fix it on the weekend. They fix it on, and we'll and then of course. But look, it's like anything else. Movie making is problem solving. So that was a problem for us, but we fixed it in the end, and I think it works really well.
Putting out fires. What was the biggest fire you've encountered on this, or have you yet to walk through that fire?
And we might have to yet walk through the fire.
I don't know. What's the biggest problem, Jim?
Being arrested at the airport.
Right.
No, I wasn't arrested. I had a lovely conversation with a couple of policemen at the airport about Bailey's tapes, because when he died, they got all the phone recordings and texts and everything, and I'd sent him a few texts that they wanted me to explain, which was interesting.
To elaborate on?
Well, one of them was about, I think it's a suspect that was named by another person in an affidavit. And they were asking me about that, which kind of made me think, oh, God, I never thought that was real, that this new suspect could be real. But after that encounter, I was thinking, wow, maybe, because I was saying, things like, well, Sophie was stabbed, and they weren't denying it. So, but they were very kind and really nice, and they seem to be working very hard for the case,
For once, says you. I'll, why? Because you've done extensive work on this subject before. Why did you feel it was important to make a drama about this, and why now? It's always the why now in every film. It always comes up on our show. Why now?
Well, I don't think there's ever... That's a very interesting question. Why now? Why at all? Because a lot of the time when you're making a movie, you're making it to be famous, to make money, to entertain people, to not entertain people. There's lots of conscious reasons. But the unconscious reasons are more interesting than the conscious reasons. And you never know them by definition.
Right.
So often, if you look at the history of film and Irish film, it's only lately that we've even gotten the game. And that's really because Hollywood has stopped being the centre of the world. But why people are making films is to usually express some inner irresolution, something that's not resolved. So they're not conscious. If it's not resolved, they're not conscious of. That's why they get pissed off when you ask them why you're doing it. They're like, if I knew that, I'd tell you, Do you know what I mean?
I do, 100%.
So they get defensive, but I do ask myself all the time why I'm doing it, yeah. So it's a great question, because when you get to the answer to why, it's the fundamental question, even though people get irritated. And in my case, it was during COVID, I went to a graveyard in Darver, County Louth, and I was wondering would I know my grandmother's grave. And when I got there was one bunch of flowers on the grave, and it was my grandmother, and she died on that day 100 years earlier. So somebody had gone there and put the flowers there, and I was amazed. But I know it wasn't my mother, because she wasn't alive, and she was born on the same day my grandmother died. She died giving birth to her. So my mother blamed herself, never had a birthday, never celebrated her birthday, always felt she killed our mother. And the woman who looked after her, I don't think I ever told you, was a woman called Granny Poland. And Granny Poland came to live with us, and all I remember is about 4 or 5. She was all in black, and she gave me a clatter across the face, and then she disappeared. And I have no idea what that was all about. But I think it was like jealousy she was the woman who'd looked after my mother for like as a baby. But my mother must have felt, oh, I'm the guilty one. I'm the exiled one. So all of that feeds into Bailey.
Yeah.
It's like, here's the exiled guy. Here's the guy wrongly accused, you know. And so you don't know why you're doing it. But I think, am I talking too much, Dave?
I think I agree what you're saying. And actually, I remember we were writing Kerry Babies, and, you know, you said if you can get something from it, it's like something from a deeply unconscious place comes into the writing. You think you're doing this, but something else comes
truth,
in,
or the striving for
or
truth,
something inside of you that you're not even aware of. And for me, I think I have my own versions of it. My dad was a bollocks, and you know, my mother was abused, and so I feel like I hate the cops are my dad, and Sophie's my mum, or, you know, whatever. But there's something else, I'm sure, underneath that I'm not even aware of. That exists.
And the closer you get to your own dilemma or problem, the more fuel there's in it. Because when you have a story, let's say you have a story, you're making it up, you know deep down you're making it up. Bless me, Father, for I've sinned. It's been 2 weeks since I stole me mammy's purse, Father. Like, whatever that bullshit story is. But the real story could be, I killed me granny, or whatever it is, or I'm gay, or whatever you want it to be. And that real story is very hard to access. But once you access it, it's going to drive you. It's going to give you, it's going to give you a power that everything you're shooting, you believe it, whether it's true or not. What's most important is that you believe it. So when you really believe it, that comes true, I think.
Yeah, and I think you said to me, it's the very first thing you said to me, it was actually at a Q&A that Lenny and Jim did, and I got to ask him, what is it like making, what are you trying to do? And he said, it's like a fight. Every day you're in a fight, and so every day you're trying to get that truth or whatever it is that you believe into every frame of every moment that you do. And I think if you do enough and you get lucky, then you come up with something that resonates with people, even though maybe you don't know.
Like, I was thinking on the way in here, okay, remember in the 40s, 50s probably, there was the blacklist.
Yeah.
Okay. The streamers' blacklist is more effective than any political blacklist. If you're blacklisted by the streamers, you won't exist. So I know like 10 English directors who've never worked for the last 10 years, who all one day stopped working because the streamers came in. Like, now, there's reasons for that. One is that the streamers make everything cheaper, and they want old directors who cost too much, you know? So, but the other side of it is they're getting rid of a lot of expert knowledge, and, you know? But I actually think that television is different to film. Yeah. And I think film is now television. And I don't think it's the same thing. And I think you need a projector. You need it back. You need 24 frames, because the result of digitization is that you can change everything and you don't know what's real and what's not real. And once you do that, you change the surface. And once you change the surface, people don't have to believe what they're watching. And if they don't have to believe what they're watching, they want to see Spider-Man.
It's the lack of total immersion in the experience now.
But it's also entertainment.
Well, when you go to the cinema, you have to turn your phone off. You have to sit there. You have to focus. And what we know about neurodiversity and all these things now, catchment areas and attention spans and stuff, it's easier for people to watch it in these ways. How do you feel about streamers in general?
Not good. But like, when you go to a movie, what percentage of the movie do you think is in darkness? in the old projectors?
I don't know.
Well, it's either 50% or 10%. I'm not sure. I can't quite work out the equation. But the only reason that you don't see the darkness is it's trompe l'oeil. It's your eye is fooled by the speed of 24 frames. So
in terms of actually the
every flick
space
frames,
in
the
between.
flicks,
every flick is there, and every flick is black.
Yeah.
And there's a black movie going on in your head.
Mhm.
That's a meditative movie. That's an escape movie. That's not as hard on the eye as digital. So digital is just like walking in off the street and being in reality again, except you can change it. So a digital movie is I walk down, I get out of the cab, I see your office, oh, I come in. A digital movie is I fly down the street, I fly in the fucking door, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's just, to me, like, who, go and draw a picture, make a cartoon. It's not that I wouldn't do it or don't want to do it, but I don't know.
Do you think it has a different subconscious effect on people?
I think far from Trump and all the Americans thinking that Hollywood is anti-American, 90% of what Hollywood makes is a big Superman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, saving America, a strong man. 90% of Hollywood backs Trumpian, Protestant, I would say, individualism. And that's the religion. And we're in that religion. And the religion of collective Italian, Irish, blacks, Jews, in collectives, unions, groups, all that's over. It's becoming more over. It's becoming more divisive. And it's very hard to get back to the collective.
Yeah.
Once you lose. And so a collective is the cinema audience. An individual is a remote. So everybody becomes an individual with a remote.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're watching, they don't have to believe. And January 6th didn't happen. And everything can be a lie. So the audience know deep down everything can be a lie. So when Trump says something that's a lie, they go, yeah, but should we know that?
Yeah.
So the effect of digitization is the political struggle. Look, when I was a kid, I told you all those stories about, the church was blocking the signal to the television. And within 20 years, Irish television came in, and there was no audience in the church. There was only an audience for the television, because the television became the new pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how important it is. But when that pulpit has 10 commandments that we don't have to believe, like, where do you go? Like, my favourite line is Joe Orton. He said, the 10 commandments. I have a great respect for most of them. It's like, the ones I don't like, can we leave them out?
Just while we're on this, before we get back onto the film, what kind of condition do you think the Irish film and TV industry is in right now?
I mean, I think it's obviously there's been a rebirth in a lot of ways. We technically were always quite behind in the music business and even in the filmmaking world, and I think that's changed. And obviously we've always produced great writers and artists, singers, performers, actors, and I think that's been with what's going on now. There's been a lot of that being seen.
Well,
to the
it's
world.
never been in a healthier position, and it's due to Michael D. Higgins, who brought the film board back on the back, basically, of Neil Jordan's Crying Game and In the Name of the Father. And it takes a long time to get up to speed in film, but they got up to speed. It's all very good now. They probably got way too much applicants for all the money. They have a lot of money. So, like, I can't even tell you what it was like in Hollywood, 30 years ago. You could get a deal in Hollywood 30 years ago, say, to make 10 movies and write 10 scripts, and you'd have 5 scripts that were your choice, that the studio had no choice on. Mm-hmm. And you could get paid $750,000 to write each one.
And shelve.
Huh?
And shelve.
And you could put it anywhere, do what you want. But that was the level of finance.
Wow.
That was the amount of money in the film world. Now, if you're getting 75 off the Irish Film Board, like you're getting 10 times more than you get in Hollywood.
Wow.
Like they don't put money into development at all anymore because everybody's hungry to develop and make movies, and it's now become you have to get the TV series and you know that's okay, but it doesn't suit us.
No.
Like our daily life is not that interesting to Americans. You know, individual movies, yes, but it's hard to get a TV series. Jerry Girls is great. But the whole industry is doing gangbusters. Like Lenny's great, you know, Element are an amazing company.
Yeah.
Wildcard are an amazing company. Metropolitan are good, but they do more
Not TV kind of stuff.
service and
Yeah,
you know.
Dave is really cool there. Yeah.
He's great, David. So I just think it's a very healthy industry right now in comparison to when me and Noel were kicking around and, you know, trying to get things off the ground.
Never changes, I suppose, in that regard. Does it? It's always a struggle, and it should be a struggle.
Yeah, it should be a struggle, I suppose.
Is
Yeah.
this
Could
a
it be a
struggle?
little bit easier? Yeah, well, look, I'm at a place. I was in the music business before this, and I came in right at the end. So I got a big, huge record deal, and then it was like the internet ruined the music business, the MP3, and then there was no money in it, and then it all became indie. And now with the film business, it seems like Netflix is like Napster. I've said before, like they're devaluing the whole art, and so the money is going out of it. And my attitude is, I'll just make small things. I'll find somebody to give me a little bit of money to make something, and I'll just do that.
Yeah.
And I, like that's what I had to do in the music business, and that's what I'm going to continue to do here. You know, got a new movie I'm trying to make with John Connor's Night of the Living Dead, and if we don't get funding here in Ireland, and we've got some people in America interested, if we don't do that, we just said, well, we'll get somebody to give us 200 grand, and we won't get paid, and we'll just go make it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then that.
I keep wondering what would happen if you took the streamer stuff and put it on in the cinema with big sound, big, you know, popcorns, community. Would that not be interesting?
But don't we per capita, you know, in Europe, we do have the highest attendance of cinemas, you know?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Pirate the streamers.
He's not joking, he's serious.
No, I know. I know.
No, but here's why I'm serious,
Yeah,
streamers. Because they don't give their data.
Yeah.
So that's a method of control. So if you had a cinema or wherever and you showed any of these streamers and they asked you, many people are going, you just say, I don't give out my data. Like, where does it stop?
Yeah.
And where does it start?
Yeah.
So, you
There's
know.
no metrics to measure your own success, which you need in order to create the next thing.
Yeah,
right?
getting distant from. I think digital, at the same time as it brings you into the world of the internet and all, distances you at the same time.
And even with the data, like when they say this movie was streamed 300 million minutes, right? Why do they say minutes? Well, of course, because so many people shut the fucking thing off.
20
so
minutes in.
164 different countries, the movie's out there, it's promoted, it's got all the
Yeah, the
people
cat
going,
walks
they put it
in
off
and
and
they're
nobody
gone.
Am I
cares.
alone that
No.
when I'm watching stuff now, I stop and say, I'll come back to that in a minute. I'm just going to make a cup of tea. Then I come back and forget I was watching it.
Yeah.
Or don't bother to go
Yeah,
back.
because it's not important anymore.
You're not locked into being forced to watch it.
Yeah, I still buy Blu-rays.
Yeah.
And I have a nice TV and I have a nice sound system, and you can watch it as good as you can at home.
Yeah, yeah.
And I stick on a Blu-ray, and I try not to stop with the girls sometimes, make me pause it for different things. But that's the experience, and I still love going to the cinema as well for the communal experience. I went to see Weapons there. Have you seen Weapons, Shake?
No, what was
It's
that?
good. It's a new movie out. It's good. You'll like
The team
it.
behind
Josh Brolin's in it.
Barbarian. Have you seen Barbarian or
Yeah.
heard of it? The team behind that.
It's good, but it's the first time I've seen a movie in a long time where I thought, man, this is really cooking, and people in the audience were really, really hanging on it. You know.
Did you see Sinners?
Oh, it's
I
great.
liked Sinners a lot.
Yeah, it's great.
I liked. Did you like it?
Yeah.
I thought I liked. To
I mean,
use
I
the
thought the
music
one
that way.
scene where all the dead came back and all that, and all
Yeah.
the living, I thought that was good.
Yeah, the way they made that work. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like music, and then all the hip hop
And
artists. But it did work.
You know, the Irish influence as well, you can see as well. It just goes to show the dysphoria, how far we go. Getting back to the film, I just want to know what you see this narrative as. I mean, is it a crime story? Is it a character study?
It's a crime story, but it's an investigation of prejudice.
Yeah.
It's like, what prejudice do you bring to the room? You know, and I was amazed when I started out kind of doing about the Bailey story that everybody believed he did it. I mean, I was just like, on what basis? What evidence? Well, basically because he's not likable. And he's obviously the villain in a movie.
Yeah.
And it was that level. You know, they weren't logically thinking. And so, like, I told you I'm doing this kind of legal stuff only because when I start reading the statements of the case, Bailey, I was thinking, okay, so the internet now is basically ChatGPT is just the Gutenberg press fed into huge computers. So the Gutenberg press was the big advance, and everything was written, everything was statements, everything was print. It was the Bible is the biggest seller. The Arab world went 300 years behind because calligraphy is too difficult. And now all that's fed into the internet, and everything you're getting is based on words.
Copy and paste.
So I began to think about, you know, statements, police, you know, the way it's all presented. It's not really visual. So I wanted to bring a visual thing to the story in opposition to all the paper that was mounted up, you know, and just try and show people a possibility of another alternative.
Yeah. And I think also it's like for us, we started out, as Jim said, making another, which was a documentary.
Yeah.
So what we were looking for was the truth.
Yeah.
Who actually killed Sophie Toscan Du Plantier? There was questions that Jim had after murder at the cottage, and we started collaborating together. And I had those questions, and those questions begat. So we actually went around shooting a doc, just the two of us, trying to figure out what was going on, hiring experts like FBI agents, blood spatter people, pathologists to re-examine the evidence and see what was going on. And all of that fed into what ultimately became the drama, because it was the questions that we were asking. But how do people get to that? How does a bias, you know, storytelling creatures? We've the villain, we've the hero, and we've the victim. And as Jim says, Ian is a villain. He's not the villain, in our opinion, but he's a villain. Yeah. And therefore, once that narrative was fed from the police to the media, that became locked in stone.
Yeah, they created a boogeyman, you know.
Yeah, and it's very hard to untell a story. Once something's out there, it's very hard to untell that, you know.
Yeah. In light of, you know, potential new evidence that's going to pop up, so we're hearing that it's across the media today. How important was it to dramatise all this, to show people a different perspective? Also, and I think the important term here for this story as a narrative is, you know, beyond reasonable doubt. That's the point of all this, to get to the truth of it and to find out what the motives are and what the truth is.
Well, if the police were making a movie, they couldn't build up anticipation any better than they're doing. So I'm wondering, like, is it right that you feed out tidbits every week? Oh, we have something amazing. Oh, it's coming. Oh, it's next week. Like, should the media even be involved in knowing that? Should they know?
Well, if the case is technically...
Well, let's say I'm the killer.
Yeah.
And I'm not dead.
Right.
Would I not fuck off?
Well, I would.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think also for us, look, we were just filmmakers. We were trying to aim at the truth, but we also hoped that in getting to the truth, we could create enough stink that people would say, this needs to be solved. And not conveniently solved, let's just blame Ian Bailey, but let's actually look at it. Let's look at the DNA that was found in 2012. Why wasn't it looked at up until now? Let's look at, was Sophie stabbed? Was Sophie choked to death? Was there a premeditation? You know, beyond the
if you got a blood
narrative.
transfusion, Dave, not saying you, but if one got a blood transfusion like a Rolling Stone, would that change your blood, that your DNA wouldn't be the same?
No, your DNA is always your DNA.
Even if, you know, potentially,
no matter
say
what,
you get hepatitis or something.
And each is individual. The only exception of that is identical twins have the same DNA, but on this planet, each one is individual.
Okay.
They have the same DNA but not the same fingerprints.
No. There was a guy who got convicted in Alabama, I knew. He was a paedophile, and he blamed his brother on the DNA in court. because they were identical twins.
That's a cute move.
It's a good defence.
Well, it turned out
You've a few brothers as well.
Jesus Christ.
it turned out that his brother was a paedophile too,
Oh my
and
God.
the two of them got locked up. That's a true story.
Throw a rock, you'll hit a criminal type thing. Him passing away recently,
Yeah.
did that influence, like, were you shooting before that?
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
already in motion. The wheels were in motion.
Well, I did the last interview with him at Christmas, and I knew he was on the way out. And I said it to Frank Buttimer, and Frank wasn't as convinced as I was. Like, I knew that he got to a point where he was told if he kept drinking, his heart wouldn't hold out, and I just think he kept drinking. I mean, what would you do? I mean, just...
Yeah.
We interviewed him a bit before that in the market in Bantry.
He's very bad.
He looked,
Very bad. And actually, and it was right after we shot Recreation. He wanted Jim to come down because he knew he was going to die. And I was too tired. I couldn't, after the shoot, I don't have as much resilience as Jim. I couldn't go down. But I remember he called me and left me voicemails. And I remember they were like, felt like goodbye. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, Frank was always great to me, and I appreciate you and Jim, you know, kind of trying to find out the truth, you know, and Frank had a similar voicemail from him as well. He played us. So he knew he was going to die, you know.
The risk was some of this stuff, and, you know, there's a lot of podcasting, a lot of true crime stuff, and some of the biggest hits on the likes of Netflix and all, they sensationalise a lot of this stuff.
Well, there's two ways to make a true crime. There's the Truman Capote way, which is kind of as revenge. The guys get executed, get the electric chair, everybody's happy. Or there's the one before him, which was Thomas De Quincey, the opium addict.
Okay.
And De Quincey, when he wasn't smoking the old, what would you call it, smoke?
It was heroin, right?
No, it was opium.
Yeah, so the equivalent. Yeah.
The opium was being sold by the UK to China, and the consequence were that a good few artists in the UK, Coleridge owed De Quincey a good few bob, and they broke up. But De Quincey was brilliant, lucid, like Coleridge, you know, in Kubla Khan did Xanadu. You know, when he was clear, he was unbelievably clear. So he started writing stuff about the art of murder. And he took this one Irish guy in England who was reviled and hated and buried. He was carried in a horse and cart to his grave and stabbed in the heart with a stake and buried upside down. And De Quincey wrote how genius he was to commit the murder and basically proved it was impossible. He didn't need it to be Spider-Man. And so De Quincey called it the art of murder. But there's empathy in that for the victim. Whereas in Cold Blood with Capote, there's empathy, but Capote sees himself as the killer, and then eventually that guy dies, and I don't think Capote could write anything after it. It eats at the soul, true crime.
Yeah,
revenge eats at the soul worse than true crime, which is why Shakespeare's Hamlet can't fucking revenge himself, because it's all about spiritual. It's about, you know, make my day. Is that correct? You know, thou shalt not kill. Is it correct to kill? Is it correct that James Bond has a license to kill? Who gave him the license to kill?
Anyone you've ever had a conversation with about mortality and murder always say that I don't think I could ever do that unless someone harmed my daughter, someone harmed my son, someone harmed my mother. So I think it's innate in all of us, in a very Cain and Abel way, that if we're pushed, we could do it. Now, again, that's zeroes in on the details of this case. Who did it? Why? And I think this is, you know, the country's biggest, like from a dramatisation and marketing the film point of view, it's the biggest whodunit in Irish history, in modern Irish history.
Apart from Michael Collins.
Obviously. Who did
Both
that?
in West Cork.
Who did that? Ian Bailey?
I would say, in my estimation, it was somebody closer than 50 yards away.
Do you think? Think Dev was involved?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, Dev, no. I think Collins was an amazing leader, ruthless, wild, young, probably a danger to both sides. That's what I think.
How old was he then? 30 when he died? 31?
32, yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, again, it's the biggest whodunit from a dramatic point of view in terms of how the story plays out. And I think it's testament to the narrative in the film that it literally, not by virtue of having to watch it, but it really keeps you in it. And it has a lot to do with very clever casting. And casting, not necessarily taking the low-hanging fruit of just punctuating it with a lot of famous actors to try and make it work and sell it. Although there are some big names in it. I think that worked really well.
And what did you think of Juror number 1? Like, come
now,
out.
for anyone who's tuning in for the first time, we're also joined by an up and coming, struggling generational talent, Mr. Jim Sheridan
himself, your man.
What was it like acting for the first time in a while? Because you've done a bit over the years.
In a good while, but you know, before I think I was always trying to act like make it work. You know, whereas this I was trying to find it, and I think it's much more interesting trying to find it, because when you're trying to find it, people are trying to find it with you. Yeah. You know, and I wouldn't know, like, because I knew so much, I would go to say a sentence and go, oh no, I can't say that because they don't know he was tried in France, so I better switch. So in the middle of a sentence, I'd switch. And
which makes it all the more natural.
It makes it weird. It makes it interesting. But like my part was tiny, and Vicky, we didn't have her for a couple of days, so we had to adjust as well. Isn't that right?
Yeah. And Vicky is a big improver as well.
Yeah, she's great.
She knows the script, but she'd never said the same thing twice. You know what I mean? She was fantastic to work with.
That's my next question. How did she get involved? Great performance from her, by the way.
Yeah. Well, she's Luxembourg. Her father ran that Luxembourg film fund one time, and the guy who runs it now knew her father and asked her, and I met her in Berlin and convinced her, and she's kind of like a straight up person. She'd do something that's out there, you know, just to test, is it interesting?
Yeah. And she was obviously very interesting to work with.
Yeah,
what did she bring to it?
Well, I mean, look, Vicky is very, very prepared. She had her own ideas. She's got a good sense of story. I think she was open to the improv in a major way, which was brilliant. And her and John really, really worked well together. We struggled. Our first day was a disaster over there. Jim said it before; it was a complete disaster. And the second day, we really started to get it work with Vicky and John, and we were assembling. We had an assembly editor going on, and I actually was editing myself at night
on the fly
while we were doing it. Yeah, and we were rewriting as well at night, so there wasn't a lot of sleep going on. But once we figured out that it was kind of working in the room, and as Jim said, finding it, which I think, like, I really just embrace that all the time now, working with actors and stuff, and I film the film course that I was doing. You film scenes over and over, and I keep directing, throwing them lines, and then the last one I have a scene that I can take home and write. Do you know what I mean? I think there's something really interesting.
I mean, the difficulty with film is that there's so many things. Yeah. Like, I'm looking here at your wall, and it's got green, yellow, blue, whatever, and you have so many choices in a movie that when your choices are limited, you're better off. You got one room, make it work. Yep. It's a jury room. Everybody understands that. So it's not difficult once you've decided on your limitations. When you have no limitations, that's when it's really difficult. Because you walk into rooms, you go, I don't think we should be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that, as
Vibes,
Jim said,
the vibe
totally gave birth to like loads of really cool things, because we'd test it and we'd say, we need to put Vicky in it. So then we'd create these little vignettes that put Vicky in it. Or Sophie, sorry, I say Vicky. We always think it's or the archival footage, you know, using that in a particular way, you know, getting out of the place. We just had to be creative, and sometimes, like, the shots in it's just me and John Connors shooting in Fairview Park. That was it, because we didn't have money and budget left, but we knew we needed things, and we just went and did them, you know. We went to school. I'll tell you this, actually, this is quite funny. We went to school, we wanted to shoot, we couldn't get the clothes from Luxembourg for the actors, so we were going to shoot them on the bus down there, and we were told we
couldn't afford to get off the bus.
We were told we couldn't shoot any dialogue on the bus, right?
Oh, right.
We didn't have a first AD, and people were telling us we couldn't do this, that and the other. So we'll just go down and shoot people looking out the window, and then when we get all the actors together, we'll get in a parking lot with a green screen and we'll shoot it. So we went down to school, And I turned around to the sound man and says, "Can we shoot on the bus?" He was like, "Yeah." And we just turned around to the camera and said, "Right, we're going to shoot the first scene." So we just he set his hair on fire, and that's what we did. We just pulled up in middle of Skull, and we just shot this scene, and that was it.
And people needed, you know, you need to take them out. You need to give them that the black film.
Yeah.
You need to take them out of it for a bit.
But I also think it's just a case of, you know, when you're making films, there's lots of no, you can't do this, and lots of no, you can't do that. And I think sometimes you just have to.
Are you invigorated by the idea of kind of coming back to the essence of ostensibly guerrilla filmmaking again?
Yeah, I am. Well, you know, when there's no alternative, certainly.
Yeah.
Like, it's now a situation where I would look for things I can film without too much hassle, you know. Because the more you have to raise, the more difficult it becomes.
Yeah.
Then you have to get a star. Then, you know, Killian goes on holidays for a year. You know, I love Killian. He's probably right to take time out, and Daniel takes time out. But, you know, so many things happen that you're not in control of. And it's very hard when you're not in control. It's like you're the director, but you're not in control, you know. It's really difficult.
So in order to have creative control over a project, you really need to be doing stuff like this, even someone like you.
Yeah. And look, back in the day when I was doing movies in Ireland and America, you know, all the directors would say, you know, oh, the studio are interfering. That was nonsense. No studio interfered. Because from 1992 on, America raised the money in foreign, right? And in 1992, there was a fella on credits. If you took your name off, I can't remember his name.
John something. Was it John
Smith? Smithy or something. Yeah. His name disappeared off films from 1992. When that row broke out about Bohemian Rhapsody, they had to have the original director on, even though he didn't direct it. Why is that? Because when they raise money in foreign, they have to have guarantees to the foreign people that they'll deliver certain items. Mm-hmm. And you, the director, become an item. If you're lucky enough to be working with Daniel Day-Lewis or Daniel Craig or a star. Yeah. So if you're a deliverable item, it's not an employment contract.
Oh, right.
It's a deliverable contract. And if you walk off, they've no position. So you just say, no, I'm doing it my way, and you go stuff yourself. They have no comeback. It's impossible for them to have a comeback.
So it's not legally binding in that way. Interesting.
No, but nobody ever took the logic of that to its simplicity. It was the opposite. There was an amazing freedom in American cinema.
You find the opposite? You found your experiences to be the opposite?
No, I found a lot of it.
Or general experience?
Yeah, I could do whatever I want on any of those movies. Nobody ever said anything.
Yeah, but Jim, to be fair, you were knocking it out of the ballpark. You're not just saying that, but you were. Look at that run of movies where you just hit it over the fence. They obviously seen that you were the man, and why would they interfere?
Well, they leave the good ones alone, don't they? To a degree, the clipboards are always there, but you know.
Harvey didn't leave anybody alone. Harvey would torture.
So I heard.
Yeah,
it's a great story about another filmmaker recently came on, and Harvey was someone. Barry McAvoy, you know, who made An Everlasting Peace.
Yeah.
Great guy. Just Weinstein's resolute control of every little detail. Anyway, that's a conversation for a different day. I'm just going to talk to you about kind of European releases of this, you know, touch on France and Irish perceptions of this, and where do you hope that this not opens a can of worms, but gets people thinking differently about it, particularly in France, where you might, I'd imagine, receive some resistance? Will it get a release over there?
Probably.
I think it has a release over there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
it has. That goes out under the Luxembourg banner. You know, when we do the movie with them, they get the Benelux countries, whatever that is. I think it's France, Belgium
and Luxembourg.
Yeah.
Only 70 million people.
Yeah.
Is that all?
Yeah. And we get Ireland, North and South. Yeah.
Look at that. What a deal.
You know, Sophie herself, how do you think that she would interpret the reimagining of these circumstances?
God, I couldn't begin. I don't know how we would know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she was a filmmaker herself. she was a documentarian. She was into edgy subject matter and discovering stuff. I think she'd be happy that people are trying to still put her soul to rest, to kind of find a way to let there be peace about her ending, whatever that is, you know, even if it happened to be Bailey. So now the family can be happy, you know.
Find a resolution.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it seems as if it's in a time where we're so manipulated by social media, and there's a lot of confusion, corruption, a lot of socio-economic unrest in this country in particular. It seems to me that it's something. There's a lesson to be learned, regardless of the outcome of what's going to happen with all of this. Where we're searching for the truth. I've mentioned that a couple of times already. How, like, especially from your experience and yours as well, Dave, obviously, people should be doing more to analyse what's really happening, not only in this movie or this story, but in real life. They need to be doing due diligence. They need to be not relying on social media and devices.
You never hear the truth of white collar crime. You never hear the police pursuing that.
No.
They're just pursuing, well, you understand they're pursuing bank robbers, I get it. But there's worse crime in the white collar crime world, and they just don't seem to pursue it.
Yeah.
And, at certain point you have to, the structure is the DPP say yes, the person can be charged, not the police. So when they were stopped from doing that, there became a whole media storm, which was trial by media.
Yeah.
But the one person I would back up is Robert Sheehan, who wrote the original report. But Liam Hamilton backed them up, and the first director of public prosecutions backed them, and 2 senior counsels backed them. And the media come out and said he made it up on his own and stopped the police charging Bailey. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
And you can't have a fail-safe system where the DPP are the fuse that stops innocent people being arrested, and then say we can ignore the fuse.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly documented kind of collusion and ineptitude.
Yeah.
Regardless of the outcome of
it's
all
very
this.
incredibly poorly run investigation. I mean, that's
Mickey Mouse is putting it kindly.
And look,
I'm not sure.
I think
I know you all say that. I don't know.
Well, I think both things can be true, Jim. I think there can be ineptitude. And
it doesn't make sense to me that the most famous woman ever murdered in Ireland, in high society France, with Jacques Chirac and Mitterrand and everybody putting pressure on, that it was an amateur investigation. Those two things don't fit.
Unless
what,
there was something going on the other side.
Yeah.
Well, of
in
course,
France.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. But what I would say is you had local policemen at a level that were not familiar with murder at all and had no experience. Then you had the Dublin policemen that came down, and then you have a natural rivalry where they don't want to work with each other.
Yeah.
And don't tell them this.
Don't be coming down here telling us.
And we know that. We have audio recordings of them actually saying that. But for me, I think both things can be true.
I think we have controversial stuff in the film, don't we?
We do, yeah. We've some, like the audio recording, I'm sure you've heard now. That's a real audio recording of policemen talking that way. That's not something we manufactured. Yeah. That's actually 2 coppers talking that
and
way.
We've got, like, blood testing and how was she killed really, and we've got a lot of stuff that will give rise to a lot of questions.
Yeah, so the pathologist in the jury room is a real pathologist, and that's a real interview.
All right, okay.
And we just stuck it in there,
Does she know?
No, the guy. It's the guy. The male.
Sorry,
yeah.
Yeah,
he does. Yeah.
Just a couple of general questions as well. You've already answered it, I suppose, on some level a bit earlier. But why should people go and see a film like this? Number one, obviously, to support Irish films. To see a film which makes you think.
Oh no!
Why?
Go to see this because it's controversial, and you'll be talking about it for a week. Forget supporting us. Just go because it's dangerous, controversial, and never been done before.
I think so, and
Yeah.
it's interesting. Yeah, a lot of the reviews in America, that's what they talk about, how unique the film was, and I think it is. I mean, you always want to try and make something unique, and people say, "Oh, you've never seen anything like this before."
And it might be taken off the air. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you might be whacked before we know.
Yeah, I know. I don't think so.
Well, definitely not
Maybe
you. You're
you.
famous. Yeah, exactly.
You're okay, I think. Just
Yeah.
about. There's a general question we ask on the podcast of everyone that comes in. I hope you don't mind me asking. Just in line with the other shows that we've done. And you can take it, either of you can take it first there. How do you deal with rejection?
God, I don't know.
Never goes away, though, does it?
No. But rejection takes many forms, you know. The only real rejection that people find hard to deal with is reviews and newspaper rejection, things that's public. Like private rejection is a different thing. You kind of are like, oh, God, okay. And you kind of have to move on. But, you know, when people are reviewing things of, you know, an agenda and whatever, that can be a pain in the arse, you know.
And someone has an axe to grind.
Yeah.
I think that's true. I was in the music business before this, and an awful lot of rejection in that. And I always say to people that I believe that rejection is the next step towards success. If you can see every no as you're closer to yes, and use that as you go along. Because sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you need rejection as feedback to say there's something not going on. And sometimes the context of that rejection is the other person know what they're talking about. Yeah. So I just think that it's a natural part of being a creative person that people are going to knock back some of the things that you do and say they don't like. And if you believe in it, that's all that really matters. And if you believe it, then make it happen.
Yeah, it's imposter syndrome, trying to get over that, right?
By one crook or another. Well, I don't know if it's really imposter syndrome as much as it is that, as Jim says, it's hard to have shitty things written about you. And I've had it before when I was in the music business. Remember, Jesus, the hot press ripped us to pieces one day. And it's unpleasant, but after a while you just go, I'm just doing what I do. And I'm enjoying the process of doing it. And that's really all that you can do.
I think that's what this is about, isn't it? Is enjoying the process of it again.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you one or two other questions, and I'll let you go because I know you know. I want to ask you about your Northern Ireland and the state it's in now, and the progression after the Good Friday Agreement. Do you see anything in revisiting the post Good Friday Agreement storytelling?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, the terrible thing about films is they're always more exciting when people are getting shot and killed and blown up. I mean, you know, it's terrible. But I think there's a great, you know, part of the problem here in the Bailey thing that feeds into North and South is there's two jurisdictions, neither of which seem to have a police force that quite makes sense. You know, one kind of looks to England and the other looks to Europe, and a united country, at least on that level, would be way better, you know. I think there's some great stories still, you know, that came out in Northern Ireland. There's stories of identity and defining Ireland. And, you know, I'm delighted with all the filmmakers who do kind of entertainment stuff and all. But I'm not really into that in film. I'm kind of into more fundamental, who are we, what are we, where are we going?
Yeah.
So I tried to do The Escape, but somebody else made it before I got there. But I could revisit that, The Escape of the IRA of Long Kesh, and there's a lot of other stories, you know, that are great from the North.
Yeah. Do you see, you know, and it's the, you know, they'd hammer me if I didn't ask you, but do you see anything down the line with a certain actor that might be back working again?
Oh, Daniel Day. Yeah, I'd love to work with Daniel. You know, it's a question of finding the role for him, you know. He's so powerhouse. I'd love to find something for Daniel, you know, because we'd make a great movie even if it was on an iPhone, you know.
Well, look at Scorsese, you know. His life, you know, it continues. Finally, do you think that, and I'll ask both of you, any Irish films over the last couple of years that really jumped out at you, or directors that you both really like?
You first.
Well, I liked Lenny. I liked Rome.
Yeah.
I thought it was very strong. This is always very difficult to me to ask you something like this. You don't want to say something.
Yeah, to say something bad.
But I mean, in all honesty, I think there's lots of really great stuff out there. I thought Love Hate was really good.
Yeah, it's great.
Stuart Carlin's is a talented writer.
Cardboard Gangsters, John is good in that.
John's great in that
Mark
as well.
O'Connor's
And John's great in our film
Mark's
too.
great,
He makes things happen exactly
Yeah.
like he used to,
Yeah.
or you have
Yeah.
done with this.
Yeah, with the indie kind of attitude. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of great stuff out there. I think we've lots of great Irish actors that are making their way in the world as well, which is lovely to see. You know, people going abroad and having success and stuff like that. I love Dairy Girls, as Jim says. I've seen Dairy Girls loads of times.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic to watch with my girls. So,
what about the Sisters one? Did you like that, Bad Sisters?
Bad Sisters, yeah, it's great.
I watched the first season. That was all right. What's Bono's daughter? Eve. She's in that. Yeah, she's good. In that. She's got a patch.
Sarah Green's great in it too.
Yeah, she's good.
The eye patch. So, you know, lastly, in retrospective about the film, what have you learned about the experience, about the case, to finish up? What was surprising to you?
What was surprising to me was the statements and how they changed, and how they went back and forward telling different stories, and nobody seemed to correct them.
That would be the same for me. And then when we came across a trove of audio recordings of the police kind of confirming in the background their doubts of Bailey's guilt, or their doubts about the sighting at Kilfada Bridge and different things like that, that was really eye-opening, because it's one thing to see the statements, as Jim says, and say, oh Jesus, this looks really hairy, but then to hear them discuss how they know Robert Sheehan was right for questioning the height in the statement, and you can see where he's coming from. They know.
Yeah.
They know there wasn't evidence to convict Bailey. Do you know what I mean? No matter what they're saying publicly, they're aware of that, because there's audio recordings of them saying it. And I challenge them to tell me there isn't, and I'd be happy to play them for them.
Yeah. Guys, thanks a million for coming in. Really appreciate it. Recreation will be in selected cinemas.
Omniplex cinemas from October 3rd.
From the
Recreation, the trial of Ian Bailey.
The trial of Ian Bailey.
So, guys, do yourselves a favour. Get your black overcoat out of the bucket or the bathtub, depending on where you left it, and get yourself along. And number one, keep an open mind and be entertained. It's a very entertaining film with lots of great performances. Jim, David, thank you so much for coming in.
Cheers, thanks, Bob.
Really
Thanks so much.
appreciate it. Thanks so much.